The pain hit me so suddenly I thought I was dying.
Hi.
My name is Riley Hartman. I was 27 years old when my own family left me on an empty highway and told me to die. We were driving to our country house, my mom in the front seat, my brother Evan driving, music loud, windows down. They were laughing about renovations, about how this summer was finally going to be good. Then my lower abdomen exploded with pain. I screamed. Not exaggerated. Not dramatic. A real scream. The kind that tears out of your throat when something inside you ruptures. I can't breathe, something's wrong. I gasped, clutching my side. Evan slammed the brakes, not out of concern, but irritation. They didn't call an ambulance. They dragged me out of the car. My legs gave out. I collapsed onto the asphalt, vomiting, shaking. Cars passed. No one stopped. My mother leaned down, her face twisted with disgust. Die, you poor nobody. We don't need your problems, she said. Then Evan shoved my bag onto the road, slammed the trunk shut, and they drove away.
Dust.
Silence.
Heat.
I lay there, curled on the shoulder of the highway, my phone at 3%, my vision going dark. I knew enough to understand what this was. Appendicitis. Severe. Bursting. I should have been dead within hours. But someone stopped. And exactly 1 hour later, the people who abandoned me were the ones screaming in absolute terror. I don't remember passing out, but I remember waking up, blinking against sunlight, lying on something soft, fabric instead of gravel. A man's voice, calm and steady.
Hey.
Don't move. You're okay. I already called ahead. I tried to speak, but all I managed was a weak gasp. You were on the highway, he said gently, barely conscious. I'm Jack. I'm an EMT, off-duty, lucky timing. You're having a severe appendicitis attack, but you're going to live. He saved my life. He stabilized me with a kit he kept in his trunk, called his buddy at the nearest urgent care, and drove me 20 minutes through back roads to a rural clinic. I was wheeled into surgery within the hour. Appendix ruptured, hours from sepsis. They said if I'd been left there longer, I would have died. Not figuratively.
Dead.
When I came to the next morning, Jack was gone. But he'd left a note. You deserved better. You still do. The nurse handed me my phone. It had barely clung to life on 1%, but it captured one thing. My brother's car speeding away in the rear camera. My mother's voice calling me a burden. I uploaded it. Privately. Backed it up in the cloud. Then I made a call. Not to the police. Not to a lawyer. To someone my family thought they'd never hear from again. Someone who knew what they'd done when I was 10. And she'd been waiting for a reason to burn everything down. Her name is Aunt Valerie, my mother's older sister. The one they never spoke about, except to call her unstable, selfish, or bitter. But I remembered different things. Like how she always sent birthday cards when no one else did. Or how she once slipped me $500 at my college graduation and whispered, "You're not crazy. They're just very good at making you feel that way." I hadn't spoken to her in almost 6 years. But the second she answered and heard my voice, her tone changed. "Tell me everything," she said.
So I did.
The highway, the pain, the words, the car driving away, silence. Then, "They finally did it," she muttered. "I always knew they'd cross a line." Turns out, Aunt Valerie had her own story. When their father died, my mother and Evan took everything, the house, the stocks, even the car. They forged documents, froze her out, left her with debt and lies. She never had proof.
But now?
Now I did. And more than that, I had a video. A time-stamped, GPS-marked recording of my mother abandoning me on a highway in medical crisis. And according to Valerie, that's attempted negligent homicide in this state. I didn't want prison. I wanted them exposed, ripped clean of the lies they built their lives on. And Valerie? She had a plan. "You focus on healing," she said. "I'll handle the first wave." And the first wave hit 3 days later, right in the middle of my mother's charity luncheon. The first wave was surgical. At exactly 12:05 p.m., during the second course of my mother's Women in Leadership luncheon, The projector behind her flickered, then switched. Not to her keynote slides, but to the video. The highway. Me, curled in the dirt, gasping for breath. Her voice, clear and cold. Die, you poor nobody. We don't need your problems. Half the room froze. The other half gasped. One woman stood up and left, heels echoing across the ballroom floor. Another started recording the screen with her phone. A few looked straight at my mother with horror in their eyes. She panicked, pulled the plug on the projector, fumbled a lie about deepfakes and hackers. But Aunt Valerie had already uploaded the footage, trimmed, timestamped, geolocated, to 3 public cloud drives with shareable links. Every guest left with it. By sunset, it had 40,000 views. And my mother's phone was blowing up. Her nonprofit dropped her. Her speaking engagements canceled. One donor released a public statement.
We were horrified by what we saw.
We stand with survivors. Meanwhile, Evan went silent, deleted his socials. His job at the real estate firm? Gone by the end of the week. No one wanted to be associated with a man who left his sister to die. But this was just exposure. The justice was still coming. Because I wasn't just the abandoned daughter anymore. I was the sole heir to something they forgot. Grandpa's trust. They thought they erased me from the will. But Grandpa Hartman had rewritten it 6 months before he passed, quietly, with his lawyer, and a witness neither my mother nor Evan could manipulate. He left everything to me, not because I asked, but because I was the only one who ever showed up at the hospital while he was dying. The only one who brought him homemade soup and sat with him when the morphine made him forget where he was. They didn't know, because Grandpa told me not to tell them. They'll contest it, Riley, he'd warned. But if you stay quiet, they'll show the world exactly why they were never worthy. And they did. After the luncheon fallout, Aunt Valerie reached out to Grandpa's attorney, Mr. Walcott. Within 48 hours, the documents were verified, notarized, and legally enforced. The house in Vermont?
Mine.
The joint investment account? Transferred. The trust tied to the land in South Dakota? Untouched for years, now in my name. And the best part? A clause. Should Riley Hartman survive all immediate family heirs, the trust shall double in disbursement value, and all contestation rights shall be void. Translation: their betrayal had disqualified them.
Permanently.
When Evan found out, he called me, screamed into the phone, "You planned this, you manipulative little snake." "No," I said calmly. "I just didn't die where you left me." Then I hung up, because I still had one card left, and it would destroy everything they'd built. It was a photograph, faded, tucked in a sealed envelope behind Grandpa's old war medals. But the handwriting was unmistakable. My mother's. She couldn't have been older than 20. And in the photo, she was pregnant, standing beside a man that wasn't my father. In the background, a courthouse, dated signage, a faint legal seal. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at, but Aunt Valerie did. "That's the day your mother annulled her first marriage," she explained. "She was 2 months pregnant. Lied about the father. Your father never knew. It wasn't just scandal. It was fraud. Because the trust my mother lived off for years, it required a legally verifiable marriage between her and my father, or she forfeited access. And yet she'd forged paperwork to hide this previous union, which meant every dollar she spent from that fund could be clawed back through litigation." I forwarded the scanned photo, the notarized metadata, and the court affidavit Aunt Valerie acquired to Mr. Walcott. Would this qualify as grounds for revocation and recovery? I asked. His reply was swift.
Yes.
"And if this goes to court, your mother will be liable for full repayment, possibly criminal charges." I didn't want prison, but I wanted them cornered. I wanted them to feel the cold bite of consequences the way I had on that highway. So I did what they never expected. I invited them both to lunch and slid the envelope across the table without saying a word. Evan snatched the envelope before our mother could stop him. He scanned the photo, then the affidavit. His face turned gray. "What is this? Where did you get this?" I didn't answer. Just sipped my coffee, watching him unravel. My mother, for once, was silent, trembling. "You wouldn't take this public," she finally whispered. "You wouldn't destroy your own family's name." I raised an eyebrow. "You left me to die on a highway." She flinched. "That was a mistake." "No." I cut in. "That was a decision. One you both made. This," I tapped the envelope, "this is just the consequence." Evan slammed his hand on the table. "What do you want?" There it was. I leaned forward. "You're going to sign a release. Both of you. You'll renounce all claims to Grandpa's estate, the land, the trust, everything. You'll never contact me again. No interviews. No lawsuits. No appeals. In return this," I slid the envelope back, "never sees a courtroom." My mother's lips parted like she wanted to argue. Then she looked at Evan and realized he was already defeated. An hour later, the paperwork was signed. I watched them walk out of the cafe. Two people who had once held my life in their hands, now reduced to shadows walking toward a future they could no longer steal. But I wasn't done. There was one last thing I needed to do, not for revenge, but for peace. And it involved the highway. I drove alone. Same stretch of road. Same cracked pavement. Same wind biting at the glass. It had been exactly 417 days since they left me here to die. But this time I wasn't weak. I wasn't broken. I parked where they'd dumped me. That bend in the highway just before the tree. I stepped out with a single white rose in my hand and a folded note in my coat pocket. No camera crews. No press. No social media. Just me and the silence. I knelt by the gravel shoulder, ran my fingers across the earth, and whispered, "You survived." I placed the rose at the edge of the road. And then I burned the note. The note I'd written that day, when I thought no one would ever come. A goodbye letter soaked in tears and fear. I let the flame devour it, standing tall as the ashes blew across the road like a shadow finally lifting. Back in the car, I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Not the girl they tried to erase. Not the daughter they dismissed. Not the sister they betrayed. But Riley Hartman, owner of the estate, heir to a legacy, architect of her own peace. As I turned the key and pulled away, a weight lifted, not because they paid, not because I won, but because I chose to heal in a place they'd left me to break. That's the part they'll never understand. They lost the day I didn't.